looking a bit different from the last video. That gives a bit of a hint as to what we're going to be talking about. So I started prepping the car ready for paint. Did about 25-30 hours of prepping, paint stripping, kind of trying my best really, but I've never done this before. Speaking to some paint shops that were giving me some advice, they basically said, look, it's going to have to go back to pretty much metal, do all of the paint stripping and prep that you can and that you're comfortable with, and then bring it to us, and it'll make it a bit cheaper. So that's what I've done. Yesterday was the day to run it around a few paint shops and get quotes. So I've got that done. I'll talk about how that went shortly. A couple of things that kind of I found when I started preparing this for paint. Firstly, overspray is absolutely terrible. So there's rubber seals that I've got paint on, and I mean, the previous guy, it doesn't even look like he prepped the original black paint underneath. That's still nice and smooth. Didn't even rough it up before painting, and you can see kind of how thick the primer was on top. But the good news is the car's pretty straight. It's very straight actually, considering its age, 1993, and kilometers. Apparently it's done 300,000 kilometers according to the speedo, but the only damage I've managed to find on it is just the bottom of the door here. It's kind of pushed in. Someone's had a go at breaking into it at some point, so this is a bit damaged, needs pushing back in, and they've kind of tried to pull the door back, so it kind of needs bending back into shape. And also just here there's a little pin, there's a tiny little dent there, as I think he's kind of backed in, someone's backed into something. A tiny bit of damage on the rear bumper here, which can be filled. So yeah. Oh, also it's had an aftermarket spoiler put on it at some point, so them holes need plugging. But other than that, body wise it's really good. Well, straightness wise it's really good, paint wise it's terrible. So yeah, I took it to 4 panel shops yesterday. One guy gave me a reasonable figure, but he's booked out for the next 6 months. So that's just not going to work for me and how soon I want to get this done. Another guy I went to seemed like they were doing pretty good work. I'm still waiting on his quote. Another place, the third place, was well recommended. I went to him. His price was really good. I don't think he's, he's a younger guy, but he's really enthusiastic, and I know someone who takes his cars to him, and it looks like he does a good job. So that's highly likely where it's going to go. He can fit me in within kind of 3 or 4 weeks, so I reckon that's where it's going to end up. The fourth guy, yeah, well, don't need to say much about him. He wasn't very good, to say the least. So today I'm going to start sizing things up for this gearbox swap. So I think I mentioned in my first video that the car is a automatic from factory, 4-speed automatic. It's hard to find parts, obviously, because this is a Primera. There's none of these in Australia. Importing big heavy parts from New Zealand or anywhere else in the world is obviously expensive. But I've got a plan. So this gearbox came from a guy, literally a 5-minute drive from my house actually, and he's a Pulsar / Armera for English people, enthusiast, and he just buys Pulsars and breaks them basically, and he sold me this gearbox. Very happy with what I paid for it, $400. It's out of a Pulsar SSS, which is the same as a Almera GTI N15, but this has closer ratios than Primera boxes, so it'll be a bit kind of nicer to drive because of that. My plan is to get a diff for it as well, but there's a few things I've got to do before final fit. So I've been spending a lot of time researching what I can use out of a Pulsar /Almera N15 into a Primera P10, what will fit. Obviously it's not a very common question that's being asked, so I'm having to do a lot of research, speak to people in the know. There's a lot of very knowledgeable people in New Zealand about Almeras and Primeras and Pulsars. So what I understand so far, and I've just checked this, referenced this against a Primera clutch pedal, and that fits. So he gave me, I bought a clutch pedal and bracket. Now I was really hoping that this chassis would already have the holes marked and they would just be plugged, but it doesn't. So I'm gonna have to drill the holes to mount the clutch pedal through the firewall. Apparently that's dash out. I'm really hoping I can get away with it not being dash out. Next part I have is the clutch cable, which I'm pretty sure fits. That's the bit that goes through the firewall, the bulkhead. Pretty sure that should fit. These are a couple of gearbox mounts, which I believe will fit. Well, I'm actually not sure if they'll fit or not, but it's worth me just grabbing them and trialing them, because then I need to know what's going to work and what's not before May, which I'll go into in a second. Brake pedal. I'm hoping I can just remove the actual brake pedal and change the brake pedal, and I don't have to change the whole bracket, and I can just slide that pedal into the bracket that's already in there, obviously because an auto pedal is quite a bit wider than a brake pedal. That's the only reason why you need to change that. And shifter cables and shifter mount and shifter. Apparently the shifter cables are the same. Apparently the shifter cables will fit, so that'll be good. I don't know if the mounting bracket is going to fit. So basically what I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to start removing the battery and the intake, and basically just giving myself as much access as possible to the gearbox area, so I can start eyeballing what's going to work, what's not. Like I said, I do want to put a diff into this, but my plan at the moment, so I'm going back to England in May for 2.5 weeks, and I'm going to have some time, and my plan is to basically mock all of this up before May, so I can go to England knowing exactly what parts that I need from a Primera P10 to be able to convert it to manual, and then I can buy all those bits and source all those bits while I'm there. I know a couple of people that are breaking a Primera P10, so I should be able to source all the bits that I'm going to potentially need. There's also a heap of other little bits that I need. Like I say, all the rubber seals, they've got overspray on them, so rubber door seals, and these ideally, because these have got overspray on. Door handles, I learnt the other day that these are exactly the same as on an N15 Almera /Pulsar, and so is a key lock as well. So I'm just going to pull those off. The guy who's local to me who breaks them, get a set of them, so that's great. Yeah, so I'm going to start dismantling the or giving myself access in the engine bay now, so I can start sizing things up. Alright, so it's the next day and I'm happy to say that the gearbox is out. Not too bad of a job in the end, probably about 4 hours it took me. So here's the auto box that came out, and the manual box that's replacing it. So for anyone who's not done this or might be here to try and understand how you do this, the process I went through is took all the intake and battery out, and any kind of thing around here that I could remove easily to give me better access and vision to the gearbox. Then I took out the shifter, got underneath and removed all the cabling for that and the mounting. The next step was removing the drive shafts. So to remove the drive shafts, the first thing is removing the 36mm bolt at the front, then removing the lower shocky bolt, which is this one here, removing the upper camber arm bolt, and then this allows all of this arm to just fold down basically, and then it's basically a case of pulling the drive shaft out. It can be a bit of a pain because of the circlip in there, so you might have to get a bar in there to pry it off, but yeah, that came off in the end. Same on the other side, but this one has like a hanger. On the driver's side there's a drive shaft hanger, like bearing, so you've got to undo the bolts on there so that the whole shaft can come out, which is here. That bit's the bit that goes through the hanger to the gearbox, and this is the bit that goes through to the hub. And then you can start removing the gearbox bolts. So I've got them all lined out here. All pretty easy to access, to be fair. Some of them go engine side towards the gearbox, but they're, yeah, all pretty accessible, so that's all good. And then I removed the lower, I removed the cross member. I just removed that completely because I need to look at the mounts and see what mounts are going to fit from the manual car, or see what I need to do there to make things work with that. And then remove the bolt from the right hand side mount, and then from that point it was loose. So I had to get some screwdrivers in just to kind of split the gearbox and the engine, and then put a jack underneath and start giving it a wriggle, and yeah, eventually it popped off. So it was about 4 hours total, I would say, to get the gearbox off. So not too bad really at all. So the next things that I will be doing, probably on the next video because it'll be in a couple of days time, is getting the manual gearbox over to the car, and basically I need to work out what engine mounts are going to work, what engine mounts are not going to work. If this bracket that the auto shifter is mounted to is going to work with the manual, which I'm not sure it is. I'll have to cut a hole into that bit or something. Need to look at that. I've also got to do the clutch pedal bracket, which I'm not looking forward to. It's going to be a bit of a pain, I think, that one. So yeah, I can start now. I've got everything out, all the brackets out. I can start seeing what's going to fit, what's not going to fit, and go from there. One thing I've been reading about the auto and manual conversion on these is that people have been saying that you need the manual, Well, people are actually saying you need a P11 Primera manual crossmember, because automatics do not have an engine mount at the front, but manuals do. With this car, like I think I've said before, like it's got some weird parts on it. It's got some track orientated parts on it, like the braided brake lines, aftermarket dampers which have got adjustment on them as well, and aftermarket holes that where an aftermarket rear spoiler's been. So some weird things on the car that makes you think it's been used on track, but I was always like, yeah, but it's got an auto box, so it doesn't really make sense. And then I noticed this the other day. So it's got, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pick it up. This here, the blue bit is like a homemade front engine mount, but the mount's not on for the crossmember. But the mount's not on the crossmember. There's nothing there. But someone has put a hole in it. So maybe this was a manual at some point, and it's been taken back to an auto. I don't know. But yeah, it's going back manual now. That's all that matters. Someone in the comments of the first video just asked to see what the interior looks like. Look, doesn't look great, to be honest. Well, especially now when the gear sticks out and everything. But only things to note really, it's got these SAS seats, which are like an Australian Halfords, basically, brand, like pretty nasty. I mean, they're okay, but yeah, you can tell that they're cheap, budget race seats. It's got these aftermarket gauges. The light doesn't work in them, so I can never see them, but they are oil pressure, oil temperature, and coolant temperature. And then I'll go around to the other side. The rear is just standard seats. Well, it's kind of a part spin at the moment, but yeah, nothing really to talk about there. The driver's side interior has this nasty steering wheel, again SAS. Again, like it's got like an aftermarket switch there. I don't know what that was ever doing. And then the dials are like someone's opened this up at some point, because that Nismo sticker, obviously it's definitely not real, but it's on the inside of the glass. So someone's opened this binnacle up at some point and been messing with it to put that chrome ring in there as well. That's not standard. Saying 307,000 kilometers. No idea if that's accurate or not. Yeah. So yeah, that's where the car's at. The next video, well, it's Wednesday today. Saturday and Sunday I'm planning to spend some time on this with the mounts to see what I can do and what I can't do, and what I'm going to need to source from the UK. And I might start trying to put that clutch pedal bracket in and drill the holes for it as well. So yep, I'll see you then.